Grace, written by Lynda Lemberg and Jeffrey Allen Russell. Fade in, exterior the Atlantic Ocean, vessel with human cargo, night. An undulation of inky waves. Moonlit, an aging square-rigged vessel emerges, then rolls into darkness under the clouds. Interior, vessel with human cargo. Cries and moans, lanterns sway. Open-faced, coffin-sized boxes stacked floor to ceiling form a tomb-like canyon. Hundreds of emaciated Gaelic crofters, tenant farmers, are crammed together. Feverish, Caelin's mother cradles her sweat-drenched son, 4. The ship jolts, its timbers groan. Caelin's mother lurches against Caelin's bearded father. He vomits into an overflowing bucket. Pregnant, Caeilin McClone, 13, slight with delicate features, a black braid down her back, kneels at her father's feet, mops his brow. Caeilin winces, grips her side, grabs onto a beam to stand, emits a visceral moan. Her water breaks. Mother! Glassy-eyed, Caelin's mother meets Caelin's terrified eyes. Exterior Montreal Russel House, St. Paul Street, night. Smoke rises from the chimneys of the stately 5-storied limestone house. Frost covers its window panes. Interior Russel House, Catherine's bedroom, same time. Grace, 27, a red-haired Scot with an arresting face and soulful eyes that exhibit intelligence and spirit, hums a Scottish tune, covers her daughter Catherine, 13, a sweet-faced blonde beauty with her disheveled comforter. Super, Montreal, Lower Canada, 1840. Grace fingers the satin trim, then stares out, eyes pensive. Interior, Russel House, master bedroom, a little later. Grace sits at her vanity, brushes her hair before the mirror. John Russell, 44, an affable-faced Scot with a confident stance, enters, drops into the armchair near the small fire.
I thought Gordon would never leave.
Grace looks at John through the mirror, sets down her brush.
John.
Yes, dear?
I've been thinking. I'd like Catherine to accompany me when I next deliver provisions. She's 13, John. The same age I was when we wed.
Grace, do not trouble her with woes of the world.
Grace stiffens, turns in her seat to face the mirror.
It's late.
Exterior Montreal Russel House, day. A light snow. Dressed in fur, misty-eyed, Grace emerges, breathes in the sharp air. Fur-clad, John stands in the foyer, exchanges teary hugs and kisses with Catherine and Janie, 10, a blind redhead with an expressive face.
My beauties, how I shall miss you.
Safe journey, Father.
John gives his daughters a tender smile, then joins Grace. The elaborately carved door closes.
Catherine will be a young lady by the time I return.
He takes her arm, pats her gloved hand. They amble down the elegant cobblestone street, busy with carriages and horse-drawn delivery carts. Exterior Montreal Griffintown a little later. Ragged men huddled by a brazier pass around a flask. Grace and John enter the bustling street of dilapidated tenements. Raw sewage flows. Peddlers hawk their wares. A few of the threadbare residents exchange nods and smiles with Grace. John keeps his eyes straight ahead. 2 urchins taunt a decrepit horse attached to a junk wagon. They run over to Grace, who gives them a warm smile.
Hello, missus.
Are you coming for a visit?
Not today, laddies. Tell your mother I'll have something for you tomorrow.
She pats one on the head. The urchins scamper away. John quickens their pace. Grace looks up at him, slightly furrows her brow, looks down. Exterior, Montreal, Notre Dame Street, moments later. A retinue of British soldiers crosses the Place d'Armes in front of the Notre Dame Basilica. John and Grace wait for the retinue to pass.
Griffintown is no place for our daughter.
It's no place for anyone.
I don't want Catherine exposed to such rough sorts.
It will be good for her to know more, to understand.
About the world of ruffians and women of ill virtue.
How can you say that?
Please, Grace, let's not quarrel.
Grace's expression softens. She takes John's arm. Exterior, Montreal Harbor, a little later. Gordon Mackenzie, 40s, fur-clad, barrel-chested, and towering with a booming voice, oversees dockers loading cargo onto the Sophia, a 3-masted bark. Grace holds John's arm as they slowly head toward the wharf. Gordon approaches them, coolly nods at Grace.
Cousin, may I have a word, John?
I'll only be a moment.
I've had a thought. Why not borrow enough from Hector to purchase the Sophia as well?
Both. That would yield enormous profits.
We could carry upwards of 2,000 passengers a year. We'd have our money back in 3 and pay off Hector.
Do you think he'll hold the debt? He will. There are some advantages to being the old curmudgeon's son-in-law. If you ever need anything, Cousin Gordon will look after you.
Just promise me you'll write as soon as you reach Glasgow.
You know I will. It's going to feel like a long winter.
With a parting soft smile, John turns, boards the Sophia.
Cast off all lines and make sail.
Aye, Cap. Cast off all lines.
Exterior the Sophia, main deck. John walks to the taffrail, waves to Grace. The ship catches the wind. The distance between them grows. Interior London Almack's Club, ballroom night. Extravagantly dressed dancers glide under chandeliers. Clusters of guests gossip, drink, wave fans about. Super, London Almack's Club. The Scottish Countess, Lady Sutherland, late 40s, handsome, full-figured, with a regal bearing, surveys the room. Her English husband, Sir George, mid-50s, a stately bon vivant with a Roman nose, eyes a cluster of women. He spots Patrick Sellar, 40s, icy, intelligent eyes, a commanding presence waves him over. Sellar bows deeply. Lady Sutherland smiles.
My dear, if you will excuse me, some of our countrymen wish to meet Sellar.
It is indeed an honor, Lady Sutherland.
Sellar bows again. Lady Sutherland nods, then saunters over to a cluster of guests. Interior Almack's Club game room moments later. Seated in groups of 4, boisterous Scottish lairds of various ages drink whiskey and play the card game whist. The door swings open. Sir George enters with Sellar. The room falls silent. The lairds stand, heads bowed.
Gentlemen, allow me to introduce Patrick Sellar. You should find his proposal most lucrative.
Sellar strides to the front by the hearth. The men sit.
If you'll permit me, I will speak plainly. All of you have widely scattered rural populations and, I suspect, stagnating incomes.
Had you arrived a moment later, sir, these should have provided ample compensation.
Sellar moves to the center, fixes the lairds with his steely glare until the room settles.
I propose that you relocate your tenant farmers.
Relocate? At whose expense?
You said we were going to increase our profits, not provide charity.
I can assure you, after making a modest investment, your annual revenue will increase by tenfold.
And what of our tenants?
Aye, what are we to do with the crofters?
Move them off your property. Their way of life is of no value to you.
Sellar scans his audience as the lairds murmur. Exterior Montreal Harbor day. An overcast sky. The vessel with human cargo puts in. Exterior Montreal High Street, same time. Laughter spills out of a patisserie. Grace and her daughters emerge. Catherine points south toward the harbor.
Look, a ship is put in. Maybe go see her.
It's a fine idea.
Grace takes Janie's hand. Exterior Montreal Harbor, same time. Dockers rush about, tie the vessel to the Russel and Mackenzie wharf. Exterior Montreal High Street, same time. Grace and Janie follow Catherine down the steep street. Exterior Russel and Mackenzie wharf a little later. Grace and the girls walk onto the crowded wharf. Gordon towers over a bedraggled, emaciated crowd.
No, you cannot stay. I have a ship to unload.
But, sir, I pray you,
Listen, all of you. This wharf is private property. Clear off.
where are we to go?
That's not my concern.
Grace turns to see Janie's horrified expression.
Catherine, take Janie home.
Catherine takes Janie's hand, looks back at her mother. Grace pushes through the crowd.
But we are penniless.
Sort yourselves out and stay away from here, or I'll have to resort to other measures to deal with
Mr. Mackenzie,
Glowering, Gordon turns to find Grace standing beside him.
how can you treat your own countrymen thus?
Don't speak foolishness.
Look at their faces. Go on. Look at them. Show them some token of compassion for pity's sake.
Keep your charity work off my wharf.
Charity, do you know how far these people have come?
You wouldn't be half so bold if your husband were here.
Gordon, cousin, John would not go less. Assist them and you'll get the ship unloaded.
Enough. Do whatever you want.
Tell them about the Mohawk encampment by the river. I don't see any harm in that. They're moving on to their winter grounds.
Grace steels herself, faces the stooped woman. The hollow-eyed Gaels stare at Grace.
Well, I can only allay some of your concerns. I believe there is a place where you can make camp.
Bless you.
Gather your people by the river. I'll fetch the doctor.
Grace makes her way back through the crowd. The Gaels pick up their small bundles and vacate the wharf. Exterior, Little River, South Shore, Mohawk grounds, same time. Mohawk people laden with their belongings vacate. British soldiers stand watch on the other side of the bridge. Exterior Montreal, South Shore of Little River, day. Early morning mist floats low in the air. Spirals of smoke rise from small fires. Scattered, the Gaels languish on the frost-covered ground. Some huddle, some forage. Exterior Little River Bridge, same time. Mist rises from the river. Grace and the bespectacled doctor, 50s, cross in a wagon laden with provisions. Exterior, South Shore of Little River, moments later. The wagon approaches. The Gaels stream toward it. They surround the wagon. Grace and the doctor share a look. He climbs into the back of the wagon, hands out goods to outstretched arms. Grace steps down. The crowd parts. She opens the back of the wagon, distributes bread. The Gales wolf it down. Eyes shell-shocked, Kayla McClone approaches, baby in arms. Grace takes the infant from her. Her face crumbles when she sees that the baby is dead. She looks at the half-starved Kaylin as she devours the bread. End of the first 10 pages.